Hey, it's Richard Miller again. I'm just following up on a video I put up on Facebook about one of the old timers in my union and when I got involved in my union. And in that video, I'm going to keep these short, and I'm partially doing it for my own satisfaction, and I can leave it for my kids, grandkids. But also I might do some with Raj and others from my union. And it's union history, it's labour history. You'll see the first one. I'll try and put them together, but it's on Facebook. The first one, when I talk about Ray Ahern. But in that first one, I mention about in the early 80s, we were mandated, my local, to join this Council 57, which is an interim body between the international or the national union. We call them international here because sometimes they have members in Puerto Rico and Canada and stuff like that. And the old timers, they were just, these are older blue collar workers. Although Afscme is predominantly a white collar union, I would think. I belong to a blue collar local of it in a water district, a public utility. There was a white collar Afscme union there, also that came about in a different way. I think it was an association before. But anyway, so when I started to get involved, there was this struggle. We were mandated to join Council 57. This interim body had about 26 locals in it. And us younger ones, and I think Katie was still president at the time. We had a woman president, a lesbian, which is very unusual. No, which I'm very proud of, that my blue-collar local, even though we had few women in it, it was mostly men. We had women played a huge role earlier on in my experience, in my lifetime there, and we had two female presidents. One of them was gay and so forth. So there's great lessons for me that were learned in that union struggle. And so when I mentioned Ray Ahern and this, that, and the other back then, he was one of the original founders. There was a bunch of them. Johnny Young, black dude from the SD1, which was we called it the ship plant, but it was. They were fairly high-paid workers down there. There was Manny Pontes from the meter reading. These were more white-collar. I was in the maintenance department, ditch diggers we called ourselves back then for a while. And so the younger people, we felt, and I felt just instinctively, that it was more important that we affiliate to that middle body. I didn't know shit about the trade union bureaucracy, the leadership. I hadn't joined a revolutionary organisation at that point. I did later on for a while that really helped me. But and then, like most of them, they deteriorated when the situation didn't fit for them, so us younger ones, we believed you got to join Council 57. It connects us to the wider labour movement. It connects us to Afscme, which was one of the fastest growing, largest union in the countries at the time. And so we had this battle, and what this battle taught me, I was pretty brand new, and I knew I was a worker. I had that a lot of Americans don't have, but I didn't really go beyond that much. I started to read stuff and revolutionary history, got into Russian history and so forth. But so we wanted to join Council 57, and to the credit, Afscme didn't interfere too much with us, and it never did for the most time. Of course, the times when they should interfere to strengthen the movement, they don't interfere then either. They interfere by their absence. But anyway, so we felt that we fought these old timers, and there were, like I say, 2 or 3 women. Chris Fisher was involved. There were a number of people then. There was another woman who was a chief steward. She ended up working for a water company up in Seattle. I forget her name. And we had this big battle. And we eventually won that battle. But the old-timers knew how to fight. It was old-time black folks and old-time blue-collar white folks and Portuguese and Irish and, like I say, black folks that come up here, or their parents came up here to the West Coast and to Oakland area during the Freedom Train and Kaiser's Freedom Train and so forth, or their parents came up during the war. And so we had this battle, but those bloody old-timers knew how to fight. And what they would do, that I remember, I could research this, but I'm not going to. It takes a lot of effort and time. But in my memory was what they used to do was they'd get enough people down to the hall to vote against paying the bills, so we couldn't pay our bills. And a union can't function very well; it doesn't pay its bills. Anyway, we had an extended battle with them. The younger people won out. I still feel to this day I was on the right side, that we should have been in Council 57, that intermediary body. I just did not know how the struggle it would take to get them to do anything. They were more or less, they took a lot of our money. The old timers were right. And also they're like the central labour councils. They're a lot about electing Democrats into office through their union money and so forth. But I think we were right to belong to Council 57. And for the next 20 odd years, 25 years, I attended international conventions. And we got to a point at which we were running for a few years, and an opposition bulletin called the Afscme Activist in Afscme, and myself and a few others were brought up on charges for doing that because we used the Afscme name, and they threw them out. But this battle was a great struggle, great lesson for me from people, like I say, like the earlier video, I'll put them together over time. Ray had no formal education. I guess he's Irish American with a name like that. Then you had the black guys that came up from the south. They were not formally educated either. My maintenance department, that was among the more militant. And SD1, the crap plant, where all the effluent of the East Bay went into, they were very militant as well. And the meter readers, different type of jobs, because they read more. Manny Pontus was one of the leaders from the meter readers. And of course, it was a job where you had to read more and have a little more white collar aspect to you. But I mean, that was a huge struggle. Afscme Local 444 in the early part of the 80s, the struggle to be in or not be in District Council 57. And I was on the side of we should join. We won in the end. I still think I'm right, but I understand I was right, but I understand the old timers' reluctance and everything else. But just in case any folks from work want to watch this, or any other trade unionist, I'm doing it, like I say, a lot for myself. Roger will get involved with me, I think, here and there, and maybe Marvin, who we were a team fighting on the job. They always used to say we had it wrapped up. He's Puerto Rican, Marv's black guy, I'm English fella, white dude, and that's one thing about all you European guys that come over here and different nationalities, are just white guys over here, okay? Anyway, I'm just following up, making this stuff for my own pleasure and anybody else's pleasure that might be interested in it.